It is the final weekend of regular season action in the LCS. There's still a couple playoff spots up for grabs, seeding in the playoffs, but most importantly, it's the first time we'll have all 10 teams in action for a little bit of DraftKings Daily Fantasy, which is everybody's favorite segment because you get to see us make bold predictions about which teams and players will step up, and then they completely disappoint. But the theme has been you got to pick as many players from the top 4 as you can from any given week. But this weekend, Saturday, you got FlyQuest taking on Cloud9, which just throws a wrench in everything. We're starting in the top lane picks where, again, it's the theme that the top 3 are the most expensive. It's going to be any order of TSM, Team Liquid, and Cloud9. C9, because they actually have a relatively tough matchup this week, they're in at the 3rd most expensive. And I guess people believe that Clutch are worse than Echo Fox, which, based on last week, probably true. Now, maybe you have some incredible amount of faith that because the pressure is off, they're already eliminated from playoffs. Maybe this is the weekend where we see 100 Thieves finally show up and everyone can say, too little, too late, you guys had a terrible spring split. But I wouldn't be shocked if you see them perform at a much higher level than you're accustomed to seeing from them. And CLG, anytime you have any bit of faith for them, they need this win against 100 Thieves to make playoffs, which means they are definitely due for disappointment. So maybe if you need to save money, you go crazy. I know it sounds ludicrous to pick anyone on 100 Thieves, but maybe you pick a couple of guys, and obviously someday should be your lone savior that maybe he'll do something and even in a loss have some kills for them. But it's still hard-pressed to pick anyone outside of those top 3. And I'd be scared of picking Cloud9 because I do think FlyQuest has a legitimate chance in that matchup. And as we go to the jungle, one of the biggest question marks is who Optic will actually be starting. They're already eliminated from Academy the postseason, so they haven't played this week. So who knows who they're going to set up there. We have Meteos on this list, but if I was them, I'd be rolling with Dardoch. Dardoch is actually $200 cheaper. So if you're feeling like you want to take a risk about who they actually start, maybe go with an Optic jungler, although they're matched up against the Guardians. That, you might say it should be a toss-up. I feel like the Guardians will get it done. I think they're the better team. They're the more well-rounded team, and they are still playing for something, although Optic is as well. Rush probably going to be getting the start against Team Liquid because Panda played in the Academy playoffs for Echo Fox, and Sven Skaren, maybe they give Blabber some playing time, but if they do, I think it would be the second match of the weekend, not against FlyQuest, which is, you know, a statement game for Cloud9 against one of the other playoff squads. Acadian or Xmithie, I think you want to base your roster this weekend around how many Liquid or TSM players you can fit. I might prioritize Liquid more so than TSM just because I think TSM versus Clutch, I don't know how many kills will actually be in that game. I could see it being kind of a slow-paced game with Clutch not really fighting back, although Huni and Lyra, they all have a lot of deaths. But I expect more kills in that Liquid versus Echo Fox matchup. So maybe go heavier on them, and they're a little bit cheaper in salary. Mid laners, Bjergsen's been an absolute animal the last couple of weeks. He's been popping off for them. Niski, much like Golden Glue, I expect him to start in that FlyQuest matchup, just because, again, the game is that much more important. Froggen and Power of Evil are guys who, even when their teams aren't winning, they still put up pretty insane numbers, and not necessarily fantasy-wise, but the laning numbers are great for them. And PoE just looks like he's stuck on Optic 2.0 on CLG. He's still performing super well. He's the best player on that squad, and the team around him is failing countless times. So maybe he's a pick against 100 Thieves, but I'm not so sure. We have Huhi there as the mid laner for 100 Thieves because Saligo played again in the Academy playoffs for 100 Thieves. If he plays in that series and then 100 Thieves still bring him back to play on the LCS, that just proves they have absolutely zero confidence in Huhi going forward, and I would not expect him to be on that 2019 summer roster. So that might actually be a big tell on who starts in that mid lane for them. But I like the consistency out of Bjergsen in that mid lane this weekend. I think he should have his way with Damonte in that matchup. 80 carries where you want to spend the big bucks on any given week. And obviously Sven, Doublelift, and Sneaky are going to be your big bucks that you're looking at. I mean, what bot lane matchup do you like the most? Sneaky versus Wild Turtle? I'd be scared of that one. Wild Turtle has been incredible this entire split. Doublelift versus Apollo. You're probably confident in that one. Same with Sven and Piglet. Piglet has been very questionable. After the first couple of weeks, he actually looked really good, and you were like, wow, I can't believe this guy hasn't been in the LCS for longer. But the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been very underwhelming, whereas Sven and Smoothie have been absolutely dumpstering some of these bottom lanes. So this might be the weekend where you just go all in and spend some big money on Sven. Maybe even go all out and cash him out as your captain, although that's going to be north of 12K. So if you can't afford that salary, then just throw him in as your normal ADC. And for supports, the salary savers, the wallet savers, we got a picture of Biofrost. I've picked Biofrost the last couple of weeks, and he has gotten almost 0 points. CLG have some of the lowest kills on average on any given week, so double reason to stay away from CLG this weekend, especially with a team. You got Afro and potentially Huhi playing still. I don't know if it's much of a revenge game anymore against their former team, since it's been over a year for Afro that he hasn't played on that squad. But Zeyzal has been the best fantasy numbers guy when it comes to a support. But again, I'm staying away from that C9 FlyQuest game unless you're really feeling a bit of an upset. But I think that game is closer than people are going to anticipate. So I would stay away from that. So maybe you go Core JJ or Smoothie. But again, I'm scared to spend that much money when it comes to a support. And when we're talking about my picks for this weekend, I talked about you want to fit as many Liquid, as many TSM players as you can. And to do that, you got to bring in a captain that's a team, and I'm feeling very confident that Liquid and TSM will both win ahead of their marquee matchup on the Sunday. And obviously, you see how cheap a captain is when it's a team. I still think you're going to get north of 20 points, sometimes even 30 points if you're getting all 11 turrets, a Baron, maybe even 2, or a sub 30-minute game, which I think Liquid are either getting a sub 30-minute game against Echo Fox, or they're going to rack up at least a couple of Barons. And we know that TL absolutely loves picking up dragons. Then we got 3 Golden Guardians members in Haunter, Froggen, and Olay. I really like the Haunter versus Dokla matchup. I think Haunter's actually been right up there with Licorice and Someday as one of the best laning top laners in the entire league. So I really like that matchup against Dokla. And Xmithy is always involved with what Liquid is doing. Doublelift, I like that matchup for him there. And it's rare that I actually spend the money to draft Doublelift in as your AD carry, but I like that option this weekend. And I think the Golden Guardians, they're 7-5 since they started that 0-4 start. I think they should get that playoff seed locked up right away with a win against Optic. So that's why we got 3 of them, even though Olay has the most deaths in the entire LCS. That's all the time today for League Unlock. My name is Eric Kummel. Thank you guys so much for joining us as always. Enjoy the games on the weekend, and we'll see you next time.